Season 1 of The Owl House left us with many unanswered questions. One of the most intriguing questions for me personally is what will the Bat Queen's role be in Season 2? The Bat Queen was first introduced to us at the tail end of Episode 7, Lost in Language, and was then a more prominent character in Episode 10, Escape of the Palismen. However, after Escape of the Palismen, which was also the halfway point of Season 1, we did not see or even hear mention of the Bat Queen during the second half of Season 1. Now, I know the Bat Queen isn't necessarily a major character, but the fact that she's missing from the second half of Season 1, it makes me feel like she'll have a more important role in Season 2. But how exactly will the Bat Queen come into play for Season 2? I have 3 plot threads that I feel will set up her arc in the future. 1. The Bat Queen's former owner. 2. The whistle given to Ida for a favor. And 3. Will the Bat Queen discover what Belos is doing with palismen? We'll start with the most obvious question of who the Bat Queen's former owner was. Considering this is a topic that is discussed in Escape of the Palismen, and Luce even offers to help the Bat Queen find her former owner, it definitely seems like we'll be revisiting this soon, especially since there wasn't even a mention of it in the second half of the season. Now, I did a video a while back talking about if the Bat Queen belonged to the Titan, and for those of you who want to save yourself a few minutes, the conclusion that I came to was that it was highly unlikely. But if you're still curious about the specifics that I went into, feel free to check that video out. The biggest piece of evidence that debunks the Bat Queen belonging to the Titan is the size difference. While yes, the Bat Queen is large compared to other palismen, she is nowhere near the size to be on a staff for a Titan. In an interview from the YouTube channel Saturday Morning Cartoons, Dana Terrace said she sees the Isles as roughly the size of the state of Vermont. And while Vermont is a smaller state coming in as the 45th largest, it's still 9,623 square miles and has a population of 623,989. So if the Boiling Isles are roughly the same size, it is highly unlikely that the Bat Queen is the Titan's palismen. There's also the unauthorized history of the Boiling Isles. Based on the passages of text, Titans are a separate species entirely from giants, which the Bat Queen notes as the species of her former owner. Because of how old the Titans are, that means that the Titan that makes up the Boiling Isles died a long time ago. And while the Bat Queen may be old, I don't think she's as old as a Titan. Even if she was that old and was also the palismen of the Titan, don't you think she would have known that her owner died and she is now living on their corpse? So the Bat Queen belonging to the Titan is very unlikely. As I just said though, she does remember that she was the palismen for a giant. We have yet to be formally introduced to any characters that are giants, but we do see a glimpse of a character early on in Escape of the Palismen who may be a giant. This would be a more reasonable size for a magic user to wield a staff with a palismen like the Bat Queen. Also keep in mind that this is a student, so a full-grown adult giant would be even bigger. We know that we are getting and meeting a lot of new characters next season. Alador and Odalia Blight, presumably the Coven Heads, the Spy, the mysterious Gwendolyn mentioned in a tweet. There's also the possibility of the girl in the photo from Ida's keepsakes whose face is obscured making an appearance. But I wouldn't be surprised if we also got a giant thrown into the mix if Luce is able to help the Bat Queen find her owner. The next plot thread we have is when Ida, or possibly Luce, will call in that favor from the Bat Queen with the whistle. Now this could actually tie in with the other plot thread I mentioned previously of the Bat Queen finding out what Belos is doing with palismen, but I'll get to that in a bit. As part of Ida's reward for babysitting her kids in Lost in Language, the Bat Queen leaves her a mysterious whistle in the shape of a skull. It's still unknown what this whistle does exactly, but we can assume that it's to call in a favor from the Bat Queen.
For troubles, Ida is owed one.
But he belongs to Ida the Owl Lady, and you owe her a favor, remember?
Now, something that I think is just fun is that the whistle reminds me of an Aztec death whistle. You can look up more into the history of them on your own, but these whistles actually sound like someone screaming or dying in pain. We don't know what the whistle sounds like yet, obviously, since it hasn't been used, but with how horrifying the Boiling Isles can be at times, I would love it if this thing actually sounded like an Aztec death whistle. Now, Ida and Luz have a lot on their hands right now. Pissing off Belos will definitely have some consequences, and we know that they will be watched by the spy going forward. So the Bat Queen might be called in to help out with Belos or the Emperor's Coven. It's possible that the Bat Queen could also be called in if Luz ends up making her own palismen at some point. But like I said before, I think the use of the whistle and Belos absorbing the power of palismen can be intertwined. We know from Escape of the Palismen that the Bat Queen cares about and protects other palismen, so I can imagine that her finding out that Belos is essentially killing and absorbing the power of palismen for himself won't sit too well. So perhaps Luz or Ida call in that favor to help them out with Belos, and also for the Bat Queen to get a little bit of revenge. If this ends up happening, or if the Bat Queen gets to fight in any situation in the show, I'm really excited to see her in action. We saw a little bit of what she can do in Escape of the Palismen, but with Dana's Reddit AMA saying that palismen have their own source of magic, she may have more up her sleeve. A palismen is our world's equivalent of a witch's familiar. They act as familiars and double as magic staves and house their own source of power outside of a witch's bile sac. They're not all powerful, but they can do some cool stuff. Since the Bat Queen is already shown to be a pretty powerful palismen on her own, I really hope we get to see the full capability of what a palismen can do. Though I do have to worry if this ends up being the case. I hope Belos doesn't end up fighting the Bat Queen and then absorbing her power, because that would be a pretty bad situation for our heroes. Belos is already shown to be pretty powerful in his own right with whatever form of magic he uses. And if he is able to be that powerful with only relying on the average palismen, then I can't even imagine how much stronger he'd get with a palismen like the Bat Queen. The Owl House is definitely pushing the limits of most Disney shows, so maybe a character death will be one of those things. Although the whole point of this video is talking about how much potential the Bat Queen has to play a role in Season 2, so I hope her role in the show doesn't get cut short. And who knows, maybe we'll get a combination of all three of the plot threads I mentioned, and the Bat Queen is reunited with her former owner and the two come to help Luz and Ida with a favor to fight Belos. Belos fighting a giant magic user and the Bat Queen would be a pretty epic fight. I mean, we already had some incredible animated fight scenes from Season 1, so I'd look forward to a Belos fight with anyone, really. But overall, Season 1 of The Owl House set us up for some bigger plot threads going forward, and I definitely think the Bat Queen will play a role in this. She's got a lot of potential for further development of her own, but also in being a powerful ally for Luz and the gang going forward as they have to deal with Belos. There is still so much to look forward to with Season 2. As I said in the very beginning of this video, there are still so many unanswered questions, and the Bat Queen is only one of these things. But nevertheless, I am eagerly looking forward to see her return, hopefully in Season 2. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you have a fantastic day, and until next time guys, take care.